Hello, my darlings, and welcome to a new episode of After Dark Fairy Tales. I'm your host, Prince Narrator. I have a new story for you guys, and it's a nice little mystery that was written by a very, very talented writer named Felicity Williams. I found her story on Ritzy, and I'm honored that she wants me to narrate it for her. And I'm going to read it to you guys tonight. I hope you guys like it because I did. And I want to give all credit to Felicity Williams. She is a very talented writer, and I will post a link to her Ritzy page where you can check out her other stories and this one that I'm about to read to you as well. So, I'm going to hop right into it. Are you guys ready? Here we go. The title of the story is Good Will by Felicity Williams. That's strange, I thought to myself. Why would she want me to meet her at midnight? I hadn't seen her face, but it sounded like the voice of a young girl. It had sounded oddly familiar, though I couldn't place my finger on it, like trying to hold on to the last wisp of a dream before they drifted away. I kept walking down the street, faster now. I heard quick footsteps behind me, and I bristled. Don't be silly. You're a grown woman, Anne, I chided myself. They sounded closer. I just couldn't help myself. I started running down the street. They got closer and closer. I raced up the front steps of my house, opened up the door, and slammed it shut. I fumbled for my keys and locked the door quickly. I raced to the window and peered between the curtains, and I saw nothing. It must have been my footsteps echoing on the empty street. A hand grabbed my shoulder. My goodness, Anne, it's only me, I heard my husband Jack say as he shrieked. Oh, I said dumbly, sitting down on our well-worn sofa. Are you all right? Jack asked, cautiously. Oh yes, I responded, unconvincingly. I just thought I heard footsteps, and it spooked me a little. You walked home again? Jack said, glaring. The streets of San Francisco is not a safe place for a woman to be walking on alone at night. I'm sorry. I couldn't catch the transit, I said, kissing him. Oh, I can't stay mad at you, Anne. He kissed me back. Ew. My 7-year-old daughter, Becca, rudely interrupted. She was in her Chewbacca footy pajamas, and her tiny arms were crossed over her chest. What is it, Chewbacca? Jack said, scooping her up in his arms. Mommy needs to tuck me in and sing to me, Becca giggled. Then she scrunched up her tiny nose. And Mason needs a diaper change. Coming, I said reluctantly. I took her small hand and hid it into her room. Mason was standing up in his crib, sucking his fingers. His big blue eyes followed me as I led Becca over to her bed and tucked her in. Sing, Becca commanded. I took a deep breath and began. Over the treetops, beyond the hill, lies the city of goodwill, where the children play and laugh, where all animals are gentle, like calves, where no adults can spoil the fun, where you can freely shout and run. But the fun comes as a cost, dear child, and the cost is not mild, for you will never grow old, nor die. You will stand still and watch the world go by, for you will have quite an adventure, but never discover death's true nature. I will never discover why Becca likes that song so much. She found it in one of my old textbooks from when I was her age, and she adores it. I'm quite disturbed by it. "Good night, Mommy," Becca whispered, breaking me out of my thoughts. Beep, beep. The clock chimed 11 o'clock. The girl. Was I going to go? "Mommy," Becca said. "Oh, good night, honey." I kissed her cheek. After I changed Mason's diaper, I went back into the living room and I saw that Jack was waiting for me. I had to tell him. "Hey," I mumbled, plopping down next to him. "Hey, something on your mind?" he asked, his eyes full of concern. "I just saw something. Something happened on my way home." His face became dark. "Oh, nothing bad. Don't worry. It's just that a little girl stopped me on the street and told me to meet her at the Palace Hotel at midnight." Jack's expression went from anger to a mixture of concern and confusion. "Didn't that hotel close when we were in high school?" "Yeah, the building is still there though. I was wondering if I should go or not." "Did you see what she looked like?" Jack asked. "No, she walked off before I could ask any questions. But she sounded oddly familiar. I think I should go," I replied. Jack hesitated. "As long as I go with you," he said. I released a breath I didn't realize I was holding. We got into our yellow Jeep and pulled out into the street. I hated leaving my kids at home alone. I always think something terrible will happen to them. Nothing to do about it now. We parked near the entrance of the hotel. The streets were quiet and empty, except for quiet music coming from the theater. We walked up the once grand steps of the hotel and pushed open the unlocked door. It opened with a screech that seemed deafening in the silence. I stepped inside, Jack following close behind. The lobby was just as beautiful as I remembered from my younger days. The grand chandelier loomed above the grand marble pillars towered above it. Everything looked in pretty good shape for being closed for almost 15 years. When Jack and I were younger, we used to come to the lobby every day after school and pretend to be rich, snotty people. Neither of us came from a rich family, so this was great fun. Jack would wear a tall black hat that was too big for his head, that we had taken from the hotel's Lost and Found, and he wore spectacles perched on the end of his nose that he had borrowed from his father. He even stuffed a pillow under his shirt to look fat. I would wear fake plastic jewelry and my mother's sundress. We would both strut around the lobby and say things like, "How do you do?" and "Fancy seeing you here." We kept walking and came upon the great fountain. There were still some coins at the bottom. I reached down into the fountain to observe one when an echoing voice filled the hall. "Over the teardrops, beyond the hill, lies the city of goodwill, where the children play and laugh, where all animals are gentle like calves." "Oh my gosh," Jack said. His eyes were wide with fear. "Where no adults can spoil the fun, where you can freely shout and run. But the fun comes at a cost, dear child, and the cost is not mild." I glanced around the lobby, trying to figure out where the voice was coming from. "For you will never grow old nor die. You will stand still and watch the world go by. For you will have quite an adventure, but never discover death's true nature." "And?" Jack's voice was a hoarse whisper, as he pointed to the imposing staircase. The small figure of a girl was coming down. I didn't know whether I'm relieved that I found the source of the voice or terrified. "Hello, Jack," the girl sang. She had reached the end of the staircase and was now standing with one hand on the banister. Her face was shrouded in shadow. "How do you know my name?" Jack stuttered. "Why, don't you remember me?" the girl said in her sweet voice. "I can't say I do." "Do you?" the girl said, turning to me. As she did, the moonlight coming from the window caught her face. I gasped. She had brilliant blue eyes and curly black hair. It was like looking in a mirror. "Oh my gosh," Jack whispered in horror, pulling me towards the door. "I can tell you do. I've changed a lot." The girl, or should I say, Anne, came forward and touched my face, her hand running along my jaw. "Do you still go by Anne instead of Annie?" "Yes." I couldn't take my eyes off her. She grinned. "And are we married?" she questioned Jack. "Yes." "What's going on?" he said, also staring at her. I was wondering the same thing. "Anne," I ventured, finding it unbelievable that I was talking to my younger self. "What's going on?" "I found goodwill, of course," Anne said bluntly. "How?" I asked, stunned. "I went over the treetops and beyond the hill, just like in the rhyme." "I always suspected it existed," Anne explained, studying her fingernails. "Then why am I all grown up?" I asked, utterly confused and frightened. "As you grew older, you lost your imagination. Your studying and working slowly killed it, until it was nearly no more. But I somehow escaped it, and I made it to goodwill." "But how?" Anne opened her mouth to respond, but suddenly the air was filled with screeching sirens. "Anne," Jack whispered, "the kids!" I bolted out the hotel doors and got in the car, Jack not far behind. We drove down the street, about 20 miles over the speed limit, and pulled into the driveway to find our house looking completely normal. I raced in the front door and heard nothing. Jack and I sprinted into the kids' room to find Becca out of bed. She was talking to Anne. "Come with me," Anne murmured, holding out her hand. Becca reached out. "No!" I shouted, lunging towards them. I tripped over a stray toy and slammed my head on the crib. I was seeing stars. I glanced up just in time to see Becca take Anne's hand and disappear. So, did you guys like that nice little tale? I hope you did. I thought it was lovely. And I want to give all the credit to the author, Felicity Williams. She did a great job. And please check out her blog on her Ritzy page. I put the link in the description box below. And I will be back next time with another After Dark fairy tale for you guys. And to all my new subscribers, I would like to say welcome to my channel, and I hope you enjoy the stories. I also hope that you guys can hear me. I've been getting a lot of comments saying that my voice isn't loud enough and the sound isn't loud enough. I'm hoping that later on down the future I can get like a better mic, but I'm hoping you guys can hear me. I think I might have figured out what the problem was. I think it was the audio format. And now that I've talked all that technical jargon that you probably don't even care, I hope just overall that you guys can hear what I'm saying, so you guys can enjoy the videos. So, once again, all credit to Felicity Williams, and I will be back next time with you guys with another After Dark Fairy Tales. Until next time, good night, my darlings.